I saw the post at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. Couldn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet. Amy had been gone 3 months, and I still hadn't gotten used to the silence. I was scrolling through my phone in bed, the blue light making my eyes ache, when Rachel's post appeared. Family is who shows up. Big bold letters over a sunset photo. One of those generic inspiration images you see 1,000 times. Rachel had 847 likes already. Comments rolling in, heart emojis. So true, and amen sister. And this right here? I recognize most of the names. Cousins, old friends. My son Derek had liked it. His wife Jessica had commented 3 hearts. I stared at that post for a long time. Family is who shows up. I thought about the year Amy got diagnosed. Stage 3 breast cancer. Needed someone to drive her to chemo because the treatments made her too dizzy. Rachel had a yoga class, Derek had work meetings, Jessica had a Pinterest board to finish, apparently. I took 62 days of unpaid leave. I thought about when Derek's transmission died. Called me at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, needed $2,800, had it in his account by noon, never got a thank you. I thought about Rachel's divorce, how I co-signed her apartment lease because her credit was shot, how she moved out 8 months later without notice, stuck me with 2 months' rent. Family is who shows up. I like the post. Then I called the bank. Not right away. First I made coffee. The good stuff Amy used to buy, French roast from that place downtown. I sat at the kitchen table and watched the steam rise from my cup. Outside, the streetlight flickered. Needed to be replaced. I'd called the city 3 times. The bank's automated system picked up on the second ring. First National Bank. If you know your party's extension, I pressed 0. Waited. Muzak. Classical guitar. In something vaguely Spanish. Customer service. This is Kevin speaking. May I have your account number? I gave it to him. And for security purposes, your mother's maiden name? Richardson. Thank you, Mr. Patterson. How can I help you tonight? I took a sip of coffee. I need to verify some recent activity on my accounts. Kevin's keyboard clicked in the background. Of course. What time frame are we looking at? Last 30 days. More clicking. A pause. I show several transactions. Your checking account, the shared savings account, and... Mr. Patterson, I'm also seeing you have a power of attorney arrangement on file. I set my cup down slowly. Do I? Yes, sir. Filed 3 weeks ago. Your son Derek Patterson is listed as the primary holder. Would you like me to review the details? My heart rate didn't change. My breathing stayed steady. That's what 15 years managing hospital compliance teaches you. Stay calm, get the facts, build the case. Please. It shows here that you signed the documents on September 18th at 2 p.m. at our branch location downtown. The arrangement gives Mr. Patterson access to all accounts in the event of your incapacity. September 18th. I'd been at work. All day. Budget meeting that ran until 6. Who witnessed the signature? One moment. More clicking. Rachel Dawson. Your sister, correct? She's listed as your emergency contact. I smiled. Couldn't help it. That cold, tight smile you get when someone confirms exactly what you suspected. Thank you, Kevin. That's very helpful. One more question. What's the process for freezing that arrangement? If you believe there's been an error or unauthorized use, we'd need you to come in person with valid identification. We can initiate a review with our compliance department. What are your hours tomorrow? We open at 9. I'll be there. I hung up, sat in the kitchen, finished my coffee. At 6:23 a.m., I got a text from Derek. Hey, Dad, just checking in. How you doing? I didn't respond. At 7:15, another text. Thinking maybe we should grab lunch this week. Catch up? I left him on read. At 8:30, Rachel called. I let it go to voicemail. Hey, Tommy, just wanted to chat. Give me a call when you get a chance. Love you. Love you. I got dressed, khakis, button-down shirt, the navy blazer Amy bought me for our anniversary 2 years ago. I looked at myself in the mirror, gray at the temples now, lines around my eyes, 52 years old and somehow invisible to my own family. Not anymore. The bank was a 15-minute drive. I took the long way. Needed time to think. First National occupied the corner of 5th and Madison. Old building, renovated. Glass doors, marble floors, that corporate smell of air conditioning and paper, 3 teller windows. Customer service desks along the right wall, offices in the back. I checked in at the front desk. Thomas Patterson. I called last night about a compliance review. The receptionist was young. 25, maybe. Name tag, said Brittany. She typed on her computer. Mr. Patterson, yes, Let me get someone from our compliance department. Have a seat. I sat in one of those chairs that's designed to be uncomfortable, firm cushion, wooden arms. The TV on the wall showed CNBC with the sound off, stock tickers scrolling, market opening in 30 minutes. I waited. At 9:42, a woman in a gray pantsuit approached. Late 30s, dark hair pulled back, professional handshake. Mr. Patterson, I'm Andrea Hughes, compliance manager. Would you like to step into my office? I followed her through the maze of cubicles. Her office was small, window overlooking the parking lot, desk covered in folders, 2 chairs facing each other. She closed the door. Kevin flagged your account last night. There are some concerns about the power of attorney documents filed 3 weeks ago. I nodded. I never signed them. Andrea pulled out a folder, opened it. Inside were photocopies, forms, signatures. This is your signature, correct? I looked at it. Good forgery. Someone had practiced. The loops were right. The slant matched. But the pressure was wrong. Too light. I always pressed hard when I signed things. Old habit from signing hospital requisitions in triplicate. No. You're certain? Completely. She made a note. And you were not at this branch on September 18th? I was at work. Regional Hospital Network downtown. Budget meeting from 9 to 6. I can provide documentation. That would be helpful. She pulled out another form. Mr. Patterson, I need to ask, do you believe your son filed these documents fraudulently? I chose my words carefully. I believe someone made assumptions about my condition and authority that weren't accurate. Andrea's expression didn't change, but I saw the shift in her eyes. That was the right phrase. Not fraud, not theft, misrepresentation through assumption. I see. She made more notes. What we'll need to do is freeze the power of attorney arrangement immediately. I'll also flag all accounts for review. Any transactions made under that authority will be examined. How long does that take? The freeze is immediate. The review typically takes 7 to 10 business days. And during that time? During that time, no one but you will have access to any accounts under your name. Perfect. I stood up, extended my hand. Thank you, Andrea. She shook it. We'll be in touch. If you could email those work documents to me by end of day, that would expedite things. I had them sent from my phone before I reached my car. Derek called at 10:15. Dad, what the hell? The bank just called me. They're saying there's a problem with the paperwork. I put him on speaker, started the engine. There is a problem. I never signed those papers. Silence on the other end. Derek, are you there? Dad, Look, Rachel said you agreed to this. She said you wanted everything in order in case something happened. After Mom what? After Mom died and you couldn't be bothered to help with the funeral arrangements? After I paid for everything myself? That's not fair, isn't it? More silence. We need to talk, Derek said finally. His voice had changed. Harder now. Defensive. We really don't. Dad, I hung up. Drove home. My phone exploded. Derek, you can't just cut us out. Rachel, Tommy, please call me. This is a misunderstanding. Jessica, this is so hurtful after everything we've done for you. I put the phone on silent. Made myself lunch, turkey sandwich, chips. The routine of it felt good. Normal. I ate slowly, chewed each bite 32 times like the dentist always said. At 2 p.m., someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole. Rachel. She was wearing her serious conversation outfit. Black pants, cream sweater, hair done, makeup perfect. The armor she put on when she needed to look responsible. I opened the door. Tommy. Relief flooded her face. Thank God. I've been so worried. Have you? Can I come in? I stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room, looked around like she was cataloging everything, the pictures of Amy on the mantel, the Afghan on the couch, the coffee table with my hospital manuals stacked neat. Tommy, there's been a huge mistake. I closed the door, didn't lock it. Has there? The power of attorney. Derek told me you'd agreed. He said you'd signed the papers at work, and he just needed me to witness them at the bank. That's interesting. It is? It's interesting that you'd witness documents you never saw me sign. Rachel's face did something complicated, a micro-expression, guilt and anger and calculation all at once. I thought I was helping. Were you helping when you accessed my savings account? She froze. I don't know what you're talking about. I walked to the kitchen, pulled out the printout Andrea had emailed me an hour ago. Transaction history, highlighted in yellow. September 22nd, transfer of $15,000 from my savings to Derek's checking account, authorized under power of attorney. September 29th, another $8,000. October 3rd, $12,000. I handed her the paper. She stared at it. Her hands shook. Rachel, that's $35,000 in 3 weeks. Derek needed it. For what? His mortgage. He was behind. They were going to foreclose. And instead of asking me for help, you just took it. We thought, after Amy, you weren't thinking clearly. We were protecting you. I laughed. Couldn't help it. That short, sharp bark of a sound. Protecting me. Tommy, family is who shows up, right? Her face went white. You saw my post. Everyone saw your post. You meant that family shows up when it's convenient, when there's something to gain, when someone's vulnerable enough to rob. We weren't robbing you. Then what would you call it? She had no answer, just stood there holding the paper, tears starting in her eyes. The performance tears, the ones she'd used since we were kids when she wanted Dad to let her off the hook. I'm going to need you to leave, I said. Tommy, please, let me explain to Derek. Let me fix this. You can't fix this. We're family. I walked to the door, opened it. That's what I thought too. She left. Didn't look back. I watched her car pull away from the curb, watched her sit there for a moment, phone pressed to her ear, watched her finally drive off. My phone buzzed. Derek. We need to meet, tonight. I typed back. No. Derek. Dad, I'm not asking. Me? You don't get to make demands anymore. Derek. Fine, I'm coming over. Me? Don't. He didn't respond. I knew he'd come anyway. I made coffee, sat at the kitchen table, waited. At 7:47 p.m., headlights swept across my front window. A car door slammed. Heavy footsteps on the walkway. The knock was hard, angry. Dad, open the door. I didn't move. I know you're in there. Your car's outside. I took a sip of coffee. Dad, I swear to God. I opened the door. Derek stood there in jeans and a t-shirt, unshaven, eyes red. He looked like hell. What the hell are you doing? He said. Come in. He pushed past me, filled up the living room with his anger. 6'2", broad shoulders, got his size from Amy's side of the family. You called the bank. You froze the accounts. Do you know what you just did? I stopped you from stealing my money. Stealing? Dad, we were trying to help. By forging my signature? Rachel said. Rachel lied. He spun on me, got close, tried to use his size to intimidate. You're not thinking straight. You haven't been since Mom died. I'm thinking perfectly straight. Then you'd understand we were looking out for you. By taking $35,000, I needed that money. So ask. I did ask. You said you needed time to think about it. That stopped me. I set my coffee cup down on the side table. When did you ask me, Derek? His face changed, realized his mistake. When? I repeated. It doesn't matter. It matters to me. He ran his hand through his hair, frustrated, trapped. June. I asked you in June. And what did I say? You said you needed to check your finances, that things were tight after Mom's treatments. And you never got back to me? So you just took it? I couldn't wait anymore. The bank was going to foreclose. That's not my problem. He stared at me like I'd slapped him. What? Your mortgage, your financial decisions, your problem. I'm your son, and I'm not your ATM. Something broke in his face, the pretense of righteousness, the mask of the good son. What was left was something uglier, entitled, mean. You owe us, he said quietly. Excuse me? After everything we did for you, for Mom, you owe us. I laughed again, that same cold sound. What exactly did you do for your mother? I visited? Twice. You visited twice in 6 months of treatment. I had work. Everyone has work, Derek. I had work. I still showed up. That's different. How? He didn't answer. Get out, I said. Ah, Dad. Get out of my house. He didn't move, just stood there breathing hard. I could see the calculation in his eyes, weighing options, wondering if he could intimidate me, if he could make me back down. I met his stare, didn't blink. This isn't over, he said finally. Yes, it is. He left, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the windows. I stood in the quiet living room and finished my coffee. At 8:33 p.m., Rachel's post disappeared from social media. At 9:15, Jessica posted, "Some people don't appreciate family until it's too late." At 10:02, Derek posted, "Praying for wisdom and patience." At 11:47 p.m. exactly, 24 hours after I'd seen that first post, I went to bed. Slept better than I had in months. Before we continue, hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We'd love to get to know our audience better. I woke up at 6 a.m. to 17 missed calls, 12 from Derek, 3 from Rachel, 2 from Jessica, none from anyone asking how I was doing. I made eggs, scrambled, the way Amy used to make them, with a splash of milk and black pepper. Ate them standing at the counter, looking out at the backyard. The grass needed mowing, the fence needed paint, small things that piled up when you lived alone. My phone buzzed. Rachel. "Tommy, please. Derek is losing his mind. Just call me." I deleted it. Derek. "The bank is asking for documentation. They're investigating. This is serious." I smiled. Jessica. "You're destroying this family." I poured more coffee. At 9 a.m., I logged into my work computer. Regional Hospital Compliance Management System. 15 years I'd been with them. Started as a facilities manager. Worked my way up. Now I oversaw regulatory compliance for 6 hospitals across 3 counties. Boring work. Tedious. Nobody thought about it until something went wrong. That's why it was perfect. I pulled up the employee verification system, typed in my credentials, accessed my work history, every login, every document I'd signed, every meeting I'd attended. September 18th. The day Derek claimed I'd signed those power of attorney papers at the bank at 2 p.m. My calendar showed budget review meeting, conference room 4B, 9 a.m., 6 p.m., 12 attendees, full documentation. I downloaded everything, meeting minutes, attendance records. My digitally signed approvals on 3 procurement contracts timestamped between 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. Impossible to be in 2 places at once. I emailed it all to Andrea at the bank. Subject line, documentation as requested. Her response came back in 10 minutes. "Received. Thank you. This is very helpful." I leaned back in my chair. People always forgot about the little things, the timestamps, the digital footprints, the boring procedural evidence that built an unshakable case. At 10:30, my boss knocked on my office door. "Tom, you got a minute?" Gerald Chen. Hospital administrator. Good guy. Played by the rules. He looked uncomfortable. "Sure. Come in." He closed the door behind him, sat down in the chair across from my desk, clasped his hands together. "I got an unusual call this morning." I waited. "Your son Derek called. Said there's been some kind of family emergency. Said you might be under a lot of stress." My jaw tightened. "Did he?" "He suggested maybe you needed some time off, that you might not be thinking clearly." I set my pen down slowly. Very slowly. The kind of slow that gives you time to not say something you'll regret. "Gerald, I've been employed here for 15 years. Have I ever missed a deadline?" "No." "Failed a compliance audit?" "Never." "Called in sick without notice?" "Not once." "Then why would my son suggest I'm not thinking clearly?" Gerald shifted in his chair. He said something about financial documents, power of attorney arrangements. He made it sound like you might be confused about what you signed. "I never signed anything." "Tom, I never signed the documents Derek filed with my bank. He forged my signature. My sister witnessed papers she never saw me sign. They've removed $35,000 from my accounts without permission. The bank is currently investigating." Gerald's face went pale. "Jesus. My son is trying to get me declared incompetent so he can justify what he's already done. That's why he called you." I didn't know." "Now you do." He stood up, ran his hand over his face. "Tom, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. You did the right thing checking on me. That's what a good administrator does." "What are you going to do?" I smiled, that cold smile. "Make sure this doesn't happen to anyone else." After he left, I sat at my desk and thought. Derek was escalating, getting desperate, trying to control the narrative before the bank completed their investigation. That meant he was scared. Good. At noon, I drove to the county clerk's office, took a number, waited in line with 20 other people dealing with boring bureaucratic necessities. When my turn came, I handed the clerk my ID. "I need copies of all recent power of attorney filings under my name," she typed into her computer. "Name? Thomas James Patterson." More typing. "Date of birth?" I told her. I show one filing, September 18th of this year, 25 for the copy. I paid cash. She handed me the forms in a manila envelope. Is there anything else? That's all, thank you. I sat in my car and opened the envelope. There it was, the original filing, the forged signature, Rachel's witness signature, Derek listed as primary holder, but there was something else. A second page I hadn't seen before, a medical certification form, signed by Dr. David Morrison, neurologist. The form stated that I had been evaluated and showed early signs of cognitive decline sufficient to warrant financial oversight by a trusted family member. I'd never met Dr. David Morrison, never had a neurological evaluation, never authorized any doctor to sign anything regarding my mental state. I took pictures of every page, texted them to Andrea at the bank, then I drove to St. Mary's Hospital, the biggest facility in our network. Dr. Morrison's office was on the 4th floor, neurology wing. I took the elevator, walked past nurses I'd known for years. They smiled, I smiled back. The receptionist at Morrison's office was new, young. Name tag said Emily. Can I help you? I need to speak with Dr. Morrison about a medical form he signed. Do you have an appointment? No. I'm sorry, but Dr. Morrison is fully booked today. If you'd like to schedule. Tell him Thomas Patterson is here about a false medical certification. Emily's smile faded. Let me check. She disappeared into the back. I waited. 5 minutes later, Dr. Morrison appeared. Late 50s. Graying hair, expensive suit under his white coat. He looked nervous. Mr. Patterson, this is unexpected. Can we talk in your office? He glanced at Emily. Of course. Please. His office was corner suite, window overlooking the city, diplomas on the wall, photos of his family on his desk. He closed the door. Mr. Patterson, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I put the medical certification form on his desk. Did you sign this? He looked at it. His face went gray. Yes. Your son Derek came to me and said you needed documentation for estate planning. Did you examine me? Derek said you were having trouble coming in. He asked if I could provide a general assessment based on what family members had observed. So you never examined me. It was just paperwork, administrative. He said you'd agreed to it? I never agreed to anything. I've never been your patient. This document is false. Morrison sat down heavily in his chair. Oh, God. Did Derek pay you? What? No. It was a professional courtesy. He said you worked in hospital compliance and just needed the forms for your bank. The forms he used to forge a power of attorney and steal $35,000. The color drained completely from Morrison's face. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. But you signed a medical certification for a patient you never examined. For someone who never consented to treatment, that's a serious violation. Please, my license. Should be in question, yes. He looked like he might throw up. What do you want? I want you to write a letter to First National Bank, stating that the certification was made in error, that you never examined me, that you were misled by my son about the circumstances. I'll do it. Right now. Today. And I want you to file a report with the Hospital Ethics Board, explaining what happened. That will trigger an investigation. Yes. I could lose my privileges here. I stood up, looked down at him. You should have thought of that before you signed paperwork for a patient you never met. I left him sitting there, walked back through the hospital, past the nurses, past the busy hallways and the smell of disinfectant and the low hum of machines keeping people alive. My phone rang. Derek? I answered. You went to see Dr. Morrison? His voice was shaking, with anger, with fear. I did. Dad, you're making a huge mistake. Am I? We can fix this. We can give the money back. Just stop. I'm not the one who needs to stop Derek. You're going to ruin everything. You already did that. I hung up. Drove home. At 4 p.m., Andrea called from the bank. Mr. Patterson, we've completed our preliminary review. The evidence is overwhelming. The signature is forged, the medical certification is fraudulent, the transactions were unauthorized. What happens now? We're filing a report with law enforcement. We're also reversing all transactions made under the false power of attorney. The $35,000 will be returned to your account within 3 business days. And Derek? He'll be contacted by the police. At minimum, he's looking at identity theft charges, bank fraud, possibly conspiracy if we can prove your sister's involvement. My stomach twisted. Strange feeling. This was what I wanted, what they deserved. But hearing it laid out so clinically made it real. Mr. Patterson, are you still there? I'm here. I need to ask, do you want to press charges? That was the question, wasn't it? Did I want my son arrested? Did I want Rachel investigated? Did I want to destroy what was left of my family? I thought about Amy, about those last days in hospice, how she'd held my hand and made me promise to forgive Derek for not visiting, to forgive Rachel for not helping, to remember that family was complicated. I'd promised. But Amy was gone, and they'd stolen from me the moment they thought I was vulnerable enough not to fight back. Yes, I said. Press charges. Understood. We'll be in touch. I sat on my couch and looked at Amy's picture on the mantel. I'm sorry, I said to her, but you were wrong. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. At 6:47 p.m., someone started pounding on my door. Dad, open this door. Derek. I didn't move. The police called. They're saying I'm being investigated for fraud. I took a sip of the bourbon I'd poured myself. Amy's favorite brand. I'd been saving it for a special occasion. Open the door or I swear to God. The lock rattled. He was trying his key, the key I'd given him years ago in case of emergency, the one I'd changed 3 days ago. Dad! More pounding. I sat there and listened to my son fall apart on my front porch. Eventually he stopped. I heard him slump against the door, heavy breathing, maybe crying. Why are you doing this? His voice was small now, broken. I didn't answer. I'm your son. Still nothing. Dad, please. After a long time, I heard him get up, heard his footsteps retreat down the walkway, heard his car start, watched through the window as he sat there in the driver's seat, head on the steering wheel. Then he drove away. My phone buzzed. Rachel. Tommy, what have you done? Derek. I'll never forgive you for this. Jessica. You're a horrible father. I blocked all 3 numbers, poured another bourbon, raised the glass to Amy's picture. To showing up, I said, and drank alone in the quiet house. Thursday morning at 2 p.m., I sat in HR Conference Room B. Present, Susan McBride, HR Director, Gerald Chen, Hospital Administrator, David Morrison, looking like he'd been sick for days, Linda Foster, Hospital Legal Counsel, and me. Susan cleared her throat. Thank you all for coming. We're here to discuss the ethics complaint filed by Dr. Morrison regarding a false medical certification issued to Thomas Patterson. Morrison shifted in his seat. Didn't look at me. Dr. Morrison, would you like to explain what happened? And you provided this documentation? Yes. I signed a medical certification form stating that Mr. Patterson exhibited signs that warranted financial oversight. Without examining Mr. Patterson? Derek said his father was having difficulty coming in for appointments, that he was resistant to acknowledging his condition. It's not uncommon in early cognitive decline. Susan made a note. Dr. Morrison, how often do you certify patients you haven't examined? It's not standard practice. Then why did you do it in this case? Derek was very convincing. He had documentation, stories. He seemed genuinely concerned. What documentation? Notes from family members, observations of concerning behavior. It seemed legitimate. Linda Foster, the legal counsel, leaned forward. Dr. Morrison, regardless of how legitimate it seemed, you signed a medical document for someone who wasn't your patient, without an examination, based solely on third-party accounts. You understand that's a severe violation of medical ethics? Yes. And you understand that this false certification was used to commit fraud? I didn't know it would be used that way. But it was, and now this hospital is potentially liable. Morrison's face went gray. I've been a doctor here for 20 years. I've never had an ethical complaint. I made a mistake. A mistake that enabled identity theft and bank fraud, Foster said flatly. I'd been sitting quietly, but now Susan turned to me. Tom, I need to understand your involvement. Did you at any point suggest to Dr. Morrison that you needed this certification? No, I never spoke to Dr. Morrison before last week. And you never authorized your son to obtain medical documentation on your behalf? Never. The bank contacted us. They said you filed a fraud complaint against your son. That's correct. And Dr. Morrison's false certification was part of that fraud. It was used to justify the power of attorney that Derek forged. Gerald spoke up. Tom, I have to ask. Why didn't you come to us immediately when you discovered this? I was focused on stopping the fraud first. Dr. Morrison filed his ethics report. I provided documentation to the police. I assumed the hospital would handle its internal investigation appropriately. Foster made a note. Mr. Patterson, are you planning to sue the hospital over this? No. Everyone looked surprised. You're not? Foster said. Dr. Morrison was manipulated by my son. He made a bad decision, but I don't believe the hospital is liable for my son's fraud. Relief flooded Morrison's face. However, I continued, I do believe Dr. Morrison should face disciplinary action. What he did was unethical, illegal, and dangerous. If he'd done this to someone who actually was being exploited, he'd have enabled financial abuse. Morrison nodded slowly. I understand. Susan looked at Gerald and Foster. Silent communication, then back to Morrison. Dr. Morrison, you're suspended pending full ethics review. You'll appear before the medical board. Possible outcomes range from formal reprimand to revocation of privileges at this hospital. I understand. You're dismissed. Morrison stood, walked to the door, paused, looked back at me. Mr. Patterson, I'm sorry. I know. After he left, Susan exhaled. Tom, I appreciate you not pursuing legal action against the hospital. It wouldn't accomplish anything useful. Still, thank you. She hesitated. How are you holding up? Fine. This situation with your family isn't affecting my work. I didn't say it was. I'm asking as a colleague. I looked at her, at Gerald, at Foster, 3 people who'd worked with me for years, who knew I was reliable, competent, professional. They were worried about me. That was odd. I appreciate the concern, I said carefully, but I'm managing. If you need time off, I don't. Tom, I don't need time off. I need my job. I need the routine. I need something that makes sense. Gerald nodded. Understood. But if that changes, let us know. The meeting ended. I went back to my office and tried to focus on work. Budget reviews, compliance audits, the boring procedural machinery that kept hospitals functional. But I couldn't concentrate. My phone kept buzzing. Derek's lawyer, Mr. Patterson, we need to discuss plea options. Delete. Jessica, the mortgage company is calling. We're going to lose the house. Delete unknown number. You're a monster. Block. At 4:30, Detective Walsh called. Mr. Patterson, we've charged your sister with conspiracy to commit fraud. She's being arraigned tomorrow morning. Okay. She's trying to cooperate, offering to testify against Derek in exchange for reduced charges. Will the prosecutor take the deal? They're considering it. Rachel claims Derek masterminded everything, that she was just following his instructions. That's not true. Can you prove it? I have text messages, conversations, evidence that Rachel was actively involved in planning. Send it to me. Will do. Mr. Patterson, one more thing. We've been monitoring Derek's communications. He's made some concerning statements. My chest tightened. What kind of statements? Vague threats. Nothing specific. But he's getting desperate. Desperate people do desperate things. Exactly. I want you to be careful. Vary your routine. Keep your doors locked. If you see anything suspicious, call 911 immediately. You think he'd actually hurt me? I think he's losing everything and blaming you. That's a dangerous combination. After we hung up, I sat at my desk and thought about my son. The boy who'd cried when his hamster died, who'd wanted to be a firefighter, who'd hugged me so hard the day he graduated high school. That boy was gone, or maybe he'd never existed. Maybe I just wanted to believe in a version of my son that wasn't real. I drove home as the sun set. The broken window had been replaced that morning. New glass, clean, like nothing had happened. Inside, I made dinner. Steak, baked potato, the meal Amy used to make on Sundays. I was cutting the steak when someone knocked on the door. Not pounded, not slammed, just knocked. Polite, controlled, dangerous. I looked through the peephole. Derek. He was alone. No lawyer, no Jessica. Just my son standing on my porch in jeans and a jacket, hands in his pockets. I opened the door but didn't invite him in. Dad, can we talk? About what? Everything. Please, just 5 minutes. Against my better judgment, I stepped back. Let him in. He walked to the living room, looked around like he was memorizing it, sat on the couch. I stayed standing. Jessica left me, he said. I didn't respond. She said she can't be with someone who's about to go to prison. She said her parents would never forgive her for staying. She packed a bag this morning and went back to Florida. I'm sorry. Are you? I'm sorry your marriage is ending. I'm not sorry about the rest. He laughed bitterly. Right, of course. Derek, why are you here? I wanted to see you, look at you. Try to understand how my father became someone who could do this to his own son. I didn't do this. You did. I made a mistake. You committed fraud. There's a difference. He stood up, started pacing. You know what the worst part is? I actually thought I was helping. I thought after Mom died, you were vulnerable, that you needed someone to look after the money, that you'd thank me eventually. By forging my signature? I knew you'd never agree if I asked. You'd say you were fine when you weren't. So you made the decision for me? Yes. That's not help, Derek. That's control. It's the same thing. No, it's really not. He stopped pacing, turned to face me. I'm your son. Yes. Doesn't that mean anything to you? It used to. Something broke in his face. What happened to you? Mom dies and suddenly you're this cold person who doesn't care about anyone. I care. I just stopped letting people use caring as a weapon against me. That doesn't even make sense, doesn't it? You counted on me caring too much to fight back, on me being too broken to notice what you were doing, on me putting family loyalty above my own protection. That was the weapon. I loved you. You loved what I could provide. That's not true. Derek, when's the last time you called me just to see how I was doing? Not to ask for money, not to need something, just to talk. He opened his mouth, closed it, thought. I don't know. Neither do I, because it never happened. That's not fair. It's completely fair. You want me to forgive you because we're family, but you stopped treating me like family years ago. I was just too stupid to see it. He was quiet for a long time. Then, so that's it? You're just done with me? I was done the moment you forged my signature. I'm going to prison. I know, and you're fine with that. I'm accepting of it. What's the difference? One is active, one is passive. I'm not sending you to prison. Your choices are. He nodded slowly, like he'd expected this answer but needed to hear it. Okay, he said quietly. Okay. He walked to the door, stopped, looked back at me. I hope you're happy alone, Dad, because that's what you're going to be. Probably. You remember that you had a son who needed you and you turned your back. I'll remember a son who stole from his grieving father. Which one of us is turning their back? He didn't answer, just left. I stood in my living room and listened to his car pull away. The steak was cold when I went back to the kitchen. I ate it anyway. Rachel's arraignment was Friday morning at 10 a.m. I attended. She saw me in the hallway and her face crumpled. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. Her lawyer, the same Elizabeth Brennan who'd called me, stood beside her like a bodyguard. Tom, Rachel said, please don't do this. I'm not doing anything. I'm observing. You're letting them charge me with conspiracy. You know I didn't understand what was happening. That's not true. I thought Derek had talked to you. No, you didn't. You knew I never agreed because I was never asked. Brennan stepped between us. Mr. Patterson, this isn't the time or place. You're right. The courtroom is the place. We filed in. Same judge, same worn benches. Rachel stood before the bench while her charges were read. Rachel Ann Dawson, you're charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit fraud and 1 count of filing false documents. How does the defendant plead? Not guilty, Your Honor. Bail was set at $25,000. Rachel started crying. Brennan put an arm around her. Outside the courtroom, Brennan approached me. Mr. Patterson, my client is willing to cooperate fully with the investigation. She'll testify against Derek. She'll provide all documentation. In exchange, we're asking the prosecutor to consider reducing charges to a misdemeanor. That's between her and the prosecutor. But your statement would carry weight if you said you believe Rachel was misled. I won't lie. It's not lying. It's being charitable. It's lying. Rachel wasn't misled. She actively participated. She has legal and ethical culpability. She's your sister. She was my sister, past tense. Brennan's expression hardened. You're a cold man, Mr. Patterson. I'm a realistic man. There's a difference. I left them standing there. At home, I found an envelope taped to my door. No postage. Hand-delivered. Inside was a single sheet of paper. You've destroyed my life. You've destroyed Rachel's life. When are you satisfied? No signature. Derek's handwriting. I photographed it. Sent it to Detective Walsh. Her response came immediately. File for a restraining order. Today. I drove to the courthouse. Filed the paperwork. Temporary restraining order against Derek Patterson. Grounds, threats, vandalism, pattern of harassment. The clerk processed it with the bored efficiency of someone who'd seen this 1,000 times. Hearing is scheduled for next week. He'll be served within 24 hours. Thank you. Back home, I tried to return to normal life. Did laundry, cleaned the bathroom, made a grocery list, the mundane rituals that keep you tethered to routine. but normal was gone. My phone buzzed constantly. Blocked numbers trying to get through. Unknown callers leaving voicemails I didn't listen to. At 7 p.m., Jessica called from a number I hadn't blocked yet. "Mr. Patterson, it's Jessica. What do you want? I need to talk to you, about Derek, about everything. There's nothing to talk about. Please, just hear me out. 10 minutes, I'll come to you." "No. A coffee shop, then. Somewhere public. I just need you to understand what Derek was going through." "I understand perfectly. He was going through my bank account." "That's not fair. He was trying to—" "Jessica, I don't care what he was trying to do. I care what he did, and what he did was commit fraud. He's going to prison because of you. He's going to prison because of his choices. You could stop this. One word from you and the prosecutor would drop charges." "That's not true." "It is. Detective Walsh told Derek's lawyer that if you were willing to accept restitution and a formal apology—" "I'm not." "Why not?" "Because apologies don't fix forgery, because restitution doesn't undo betrayal, because some actions have permanent consequences." She was crying now. "You're a monster." "I'm a father who was robbed by his son. If that makes me a monster, so be it. I hope you rot in hell. I'll save you a seat." She hung up. I sat in the gathering darkness of my living room and thought about monsters. Was I one? I didn't feel like a monster. Monsters enjoyed causing pain, got satisfaction from suffering. I felt nothing. Just that same empty space where emotions used to be. Maybe that was worse than being a monster. Maybe being nothing was the real problem. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. Text message. "You're being watched." I stood up, went to the window, looked out at the street. Nothing unusual. Empty cars, street lights, the neighbor's cat crossing the road. Another text. "We know where you work." I called Detective Walsh. "I'm getting threatening texts from an unknown number." "Screenshot them. Send them to me. I'll have tech trace the number." "What can you actually do?" "If we can prove Derek sent them, it violates the restraining order. That's immediate arrest." "Good." "Mr. Patterson, I meant what I said. Be careful. Derek's lawyer said he's becoming increasingly unstable." "Noted." After we hung up, I walked through my house checking locks. Front door, back door, windows, everything secure. I pulled out Amy's old Louisville Slugger from the hall closet. Wooden bat. Good weight. Leaned it against the wall by my bed. Just in case. At 11 p.m., something rattled my back door handle. I was in bed, but not asleep. Heard it clearly. The metallic scrape of someone testing the lock. I grabbed the bat, crept down the hall, kitchen dark. Back door still locked, but the handle was definitely moving. I flipped on the back porch light. A figure in dark clothes bolted, jumped the fence. Gone in seconds. I called 911. Someone just tried to break into my house. Police arrived in 8 minutes. Checked the yard, the fence, the alley behind my property. Found nothing. "Any idea who it might be?" the officer asked. "Yes, my son. There's an active restraining order. We'll file a report. We'll increase patrols in this area. But Mr. Patterson, if your son is escalating to attempted break-ins—" "What?" "Consider staying somewhere else for a few days. With friends. A hotel?" "This is my house." "I understand. But if he's desperate enough to try breaking in, then he's desperate enough to face the consequences." The officer didn't look convinced, but nodded. "Your call, but be careful." After they left, I didn't go back to bed. Sat in my living room with the bat across my lap and all the lights on. Watched the street. Waited. At 3 a.m., a car drove past slowly. Too slowly. Stopped 2 houses down. Sat there with the engine running. I couldn't see the driver through the tinted windows. 5 minutes later, it drove away. I stayed awake until dawn. Saturday morning, I got a call from Gerald. "Tom, I just heard about the attempted break-in." "How did you—" "Police report. Hospital security protocols. We monitor incidents involving our staff." "Right. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Tom, this situation is getting dangerous. Maybe you should take that time off we discussed." "I'm not running from my own son." "It's not running. It's being smart." "I appreciate the concern, but I'm handling it." Silence on the other end. Then, "Tom, if something happens to you—" "Nothing's going to happen to me." "You can't know that." "I know my son. He's angry and desperate, but he's not violent. People surprise you when they're cornered. I'll be careful." After we hung up, I thought about what Gerald said. Was I being stupid? Staying in my house while Derek circled like a predator? Maybe, but this was my home. Amy's home. Everything we'd built together. I wasn't abandoning it because our son had become a criminal. I spent Saturday fortifying, changed all the locks, installed motion sensor lights on the front and back porches, set up my old phone as a security camera pointed at the front door. At 2 p.m., the doorbell rang. I checked the peephole. A man in a suit. Holding a folder, I opened the door. "Thomas Patterson?" "Yes." "You've been served." He handed me papers. Walked away. I opened the folder. Civil lawsuit. Derek Patterson versus Thomas Patterson, seeking $100,000 in damages for emotional distress, defamation, and malicious prosecution. I read it twice. Then I laughed. That same cold, empty laugh. Derek was suing me for stopping him from stealing from me. The audacity was almost impressive. I called Detective Walsh. "My son just served me with a civil lawsuit." "For what?" "Emotional distress, defamation, malicious prosecution." She was quiet for a moment. "Mr. Patterson, that's a retaliatory lawsuit. It's meant to intimidate you. It's not working." "Good. Don't let it. These things rarely go anywhere." His criminal attorney probably advised against it. "Probably. How are you holding up?" "Fine." "Mr. Patterson, I've been doing this long enough to know when someone's just saying they're fine." "Then what do you want me to say?" "The truth." I looked around my empty house. Amy's pictures, her chair, her coffee mug still in the cabinet because I couldn't bring myself to throw them away. "The truth is, I feel nothing," I said. "My son is threatening me. My sister hates me. My daughter-in-law calls me a monster. And I feel absolutely nothing about any of it." "Is that concerning to you?" "Should it be?" "I don't know. Is it?" "I think it means I've accepted reality. That the people I thought were my family were just playing roles until it wasn't convenient anymore. That's a lonely way to see the world." "It's an accurate way," she sighed. "Mr. Patterson, when this is over, and it will be over eventually, you might want to talk to someone, a therapist, a counselor." "Why?" "Because what you're going through, it's trauma. Family betrayal is trauma, and trauma has a way of catching up with you." "I'll consider it. Please do." After we hung up, I sat on my couch and thought about trauma. Was this trauma? It didn't feel like trauma. It felt like clarity. Like finally seeing things as they really were instead of how I wanted them to be. Maybe that was the trauma, the clarity. The rest of Saturday passed quietly. I made dinner, watched TV, went to bed early with the bat beside me and my phone on loud. No one tried to break in, no threatening texts, just quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you paranoid because you keep waiting for the next attack. Sunday morning, I went to the grocery store, bought food for the week. Normal Sunday routine. In the parking lot, Jessica was waiting by my car. "We need to talk," she said. "There's nothing to talk about, Jessica." She stepped in front of my cart, blocked my path. "Derek's lawyer says he could get 10 years. 10 years. That's the prosecutor's decision. You could tell them you don't want him prosecuted. We've been through this." "Mr. Patterson, please." Her voice cracked. "I know we messed up. I know Derek made terrible decisions. But 10 years? That's his whole life. He should have thought about that before committing fraud. He was trying to help you. By stealing from me. By making sure you were taken care of. You weren't thinking straight after Mrs. Patterson died. We were worried." I looked at her. Really looked. She was younger than Derek by 2 years. Had married him right out of college. Probably thought she was getting stability, security. Now she was getting divorce papers and a husband who'd be in prison. "Jessica, I'm going to say this once. Derek wasn't worried about me. He was worried about his mortgage, his debt, his lifestyle. I was just a resource he could access without permission. That's not help. That's theft. You're wrong." "Am I?" "Then explain the $35,000. Explain the forged signature. Explain the fake medical certification." She had no answer. "That's what I thought." I pushed past her, loaded my groceries into the car. She stood there crying in the parking lot. I drove home and didn't look back. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. Derek's lawyer, Robert Klein. "Mr. Patterson, I need to inform you that my client is filing an emergency motion to dismiss charges based on family duress." "Family duress." "Yes. Derek is claiming that the power of attorney arrangement was a misunderstanding between family members and shouldn't be treated as a criminal matter." "That's creative. It's a legitimate legal argument. It's desperation." "Mr. Patterson, I'm trying to find a solution that doesn't result in a lengthy prison sentence for a first-time offender." "Then Derek should plead guilty and accept responsibility. If he does that, he's looking at 5 to 7 years minimum. That's the consequence of his actions. You're really willing to send your son to prison? I'm really willing to let him face the consequences of his choices. Those aren't the same thing. Klein sighed. Mr. Patterson, off the record? Go ahead. I've been practicing law for 23 years. I've seen a lot of family cases. This level of hostility between parent and child, it's unusual. Is it? Or is it just honest? Most parents, even when their kids commit crimes, there's still some attempt at reconciliation, some hope for redemption. Maybe I'm just smarter than most parents. Or maybe you're more hurt than you're admitting. Thanks for the psychology lesson, Mr. Klein. Is there anything else? The motion hearing is Tuesday at 9 a.m. I'll be there. He hung up. I spent the rest of Sunday preparing, downloaded every text message, every email, every piece of documentation, built a timeline spreadsheet, color-coded, cross-referenced, the kind of obsessive organization that would make any compliance officer proud. By evening, I had a 40-page document proving beyond any doubt that Derek had systematically planned and executed fraud. No family misunderstanding, no confusion, just deliberate, calculated theft. I emailed it to the prosecutor, CC'd Detective Walsh. At 8 p.m., Rachel called from yet another unknown number. I answered. Tommy, please, I'm begging you. Rachel, stop. My lawyer says I could get 3 years. 3 years in prison. I'll lose my job, my apartment, everything. You should have thought about that before. I made a mistake. I thought Derek had talked to you. No, you didn't. You knew he hadn't. You just didn't care because you thought you'd get away with it. That's not true. Rachel, I have text messages. You texted Derek saying he won't notice until it's too late. You texted him saying just keep him distracted. You coordinated this whole thing. Silence on the other end. I'm submitting those texts to the prosecutor Tuesday morning. You'd really do that to your own sister? You did it to yourself. I hate you. I know. She hung up. I sat in the quiet house and thought about hate. Did they really hate me? Or did they hate that I'd stopped letting them use me? There was a difference. People who actually cared about you don't steal from you and then play victim when caught. Monday morning, I went to work. Normal routine, budget meeting, compliance review, procurement approvals. Gerald stopped by my office at 11. How are you holding up? Why does everyone keep asking me that? Because your family is imploding and you're acting like everything's fine. Everything is fine. Tom. Gerald, I appreciate the concern, but my job performance hasn't suffered. My work is still getting done. What I do outside of work is my business. He studied me. You know what concerns me. What? How calm you are. Most people in your situation would be falling apart. You're just proceeding. Like this is all a checklist. Maybe it is? That's what concerns me. After he left, I thought about what he said. Was there something wrong with being calm? With proceeding methodically? People always said they wanted logical, rational thinking. But when someone actually applied it to emotional situations, suddenly it was concerning. I finished my work, left at 5, drove home. At 7 p.m., someone started banging on my front door. Not knocking, banging, fists. Rage. Dad, I know you're in there. Derek. Open this door. I called 911. My son is violating a restraining order. He's at my house right now making threats. Stay inside. Lock the doors. Officers are on the way. I stood in the hallway with the bat and listened to my son try to break down my door. You destroyed my life. The door shook but held. Everything I did was for you. More banging. You ungrateful piece of... Sirens in the distance. The banging stopped. I heard running footsteps. Car door. Engine starting. By the time police arrived, Derek was gone. We have a description of his vehicle, the officer said. We'll issue a warrant for his arrest. Violation of a restraining order plus attempted trespassing. When will you arrest him? As soon as we locate him. Could be tonight, could be tomorrow. He can't hide long. After they left, I stood in my living room and looked at the door. The frame was cracked. The wood splintered. One more repair on the growing list. My phone buzzed. Text from unknown number. This isn't over. I forwarded it to Detective Walsh. Her response. Derek's officially a fugitive. We'll find him. I went to bed with the bat beside me and the front door barricaded with a chair. Slept in 2-hour increments. Every sound woke me up. At 3 a.m., I heard glass breaking. Upstairs this time, guest bedroom window. I grabbed the bat, crept up the stairs. My heart hammered. The guest bedroom door was open. Streetlight streamed through the broken window. A figure in dark clothes was climbing through. I flipped on the light. Derek froze halfway through the window. We locked eyes. "Get out," I said. "This is my house, too." "No, it's not." He finished climbing through, stood there. "You ruined my life. You ruined your own life. I needed that money. Then you should have asked instead of stealing. You would have said no. So you took it anyway." He stepped forward. I raised the bat. "Don't," I said. "You'd hit your own son? If my son breaks into my house and threatens me, yes." Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition, like he was finally seeing me as an actual person with boundaries instead of just a resource. "I'm going to prison because of you," he said quietly. "You're going to prison because of your choices. They're going to arrest me. Tonight, tomorrow, soon." "I know. And you don't care." "I care. I just accept it." We stood there in the broken guest bedroom. Father and son, strangers. "Get out, Derek." "Or what?" "Or I call the police and you get arrested right here." He laughed, that bitter, broken sound. "You'd really do it?" "Yes. I'm your son." "You were." Something broke in his face. The last pretense of defiance. What was left was just emptiness. Like he'd finally understood that this was real, that there was no going back. "I hate you," he whispered. "I know." He walked to the door, stopped, looked back. "When I get out, if I ever get out, I'm never speaking to you again." "Okay." "Understood." He left through the front door this time. Didn't run, just walked to his car and drove away. I called 911. "My son just broke into my house. He left 5 minutes ago. He's driving a blue Honda Civic." I gave them the license plate. "Officers are pursuing. Stay inside until we confirm he's been apprehended." I sat on the couch and waited. At 4:27 a.m., Detective Walsh called. "We have Derek in custody. He's being held without bail pending his motion hearing tomorrow." "Okay." "Mr. Patterson, are you all right?" "Fine." "Your son broke into your house with a restraining order in effect. That's a serious escalation." "I know." "Do you need anything? Someone to talk to?" "No." "Mr. Patterson?" "Detective, I appreciate your concern, but I'm fine. Derek made his choice. Now he faces the consequences." She was quiet for a moment. That's not how most fathers would react. Maybe I'm not most fathers. Maybe not. After we hung up, I sat in the quiet house and felt nothing. My son was in jail, my sister was facing charges, my family was destroyed, and I felt absolutely nothing, just empty space where something used to be. At 6 a.m., I called a glass repair company, scheduled them for Tuesday morning. Then I went upstairs and cleaned up the broken window, swept glass, boarded up the frame, added it to the list. Everything could be fixed, everything could be repaired, except the people. Those were broken permanently. Tuesday morning at 9 a.m., I sat in the courtroom for Derek's emergency motion hearing. Derek sat at the defense table in an orange jumpsuit, handcuffs, shackles. He looked like he hadn't slept. Probably hadn't. Robert Klein stood before the judge. "Your Honor, we're here on an emergency motion to dismiss charges based on family duress and misunderstanding." The prosecutor, Maria Santos, stood. "Your Honor, the defendant broke into the victim's home last night in violation of a restraining order. This isn't a family misunderstanding. This is systematic fraud followed by escalating violence." The judge looked at Derek. "Mr. Patterson, you broke into your father's home?" Derek's jaw tightened. "Yes, Your Honor." "While under a restraining order?" "Yes. And before that, you forged his signature, filed false documents, and transferred $35,000 from his accounts without permission?" "I was trying to help him." "That's not what I asked. Did you do those things?" "Yes." The judge made a note. "Motion denied. Trial date is set for February 12th. Bail is revoked. The defendant will remain in custody until trial." The gavel came down. Derek's face went gray. "Your Honor, please, we're done here." Guards moved forward. Derek looked back at me. Our eyes met one last time. I didn't look away. Neither did he. Then they led him away. In the hallway, Rachel was waiting with her lawyer. "Happy now?" she spat. "No." "Derek's in jail. I'm about to be. You've destroyed everything." "You destroyed it first. I just refuse to pretend otherwise." Brennan stepped between us. "Ms. Dawson, let's go. This isn't productive." But Rachel wasn't done. "When you die alone in some nursing home, I hope you remember this. I hope you remember that you had a family who loved you and you threw them away. You didn't love me, Rachel. You loved what I could provide. That's not true. Prove it. Show me one time in the last year you reached out just to see how I was doing. One time you offered to help without wanting something in return. One time you showed up just because. She had no answer. That's what I thought. I walked away. Outside the courthouse, the November air was cold, gray sky, rain threatening. I stood on the steps and watched people rush past. My phone rang. Gerald. Tom, the glass company said they're coming to the office instead of your house? What? They said you rescheduled, that you wanted the work done at your office. I didn't reschedule anything. Cold realization washed over me. Gerald, lock down the building. Now, call security. Don't let anyone in who isn't authorized. Tom, what? Do it now. I ran to my car, sped toward the hospital. 20 minutes in traffic that felt like hours. Called Detective Walsh while driving. Jessica wasn't at the courthouse. Rachel said something about Derek being in jail. If Jessica blames me, you think she's going after you at work? I don't know, but she rescheduled my glass repair to the hospital. Why would she do that? We're sending officers. Stay away from the building until we clear it. I can't. My coworkers... Mr. Patterson, I hung up, pulled into the hospital parking lot. Everything looked normal. No police yet, no obvious signs of trouble. I ran inside, security desk. Has Jessica Patterson been here? The guard checked his log. I have a Jessica Patterson signed in 20 minutes ago. Said she was visiting compliance office. My office. I ran. 3rd floor, compliance department. Down the hallway. My office door was open. Jessica sat at my desk. She had a gun. I stopped in the doorway. Raised my hand slowly. Jessica, close the door. I did. Sit down. I sat in the chair across from my own desk. The visitor chair. You destroyed my marriage, she said calmly. Derek's in jail. My family won't speak to me. I have nothing left. Jessica, this isn't... Shut up. She stood up. Gun steady, professional, like she'd practiced. You sit there so calm, so righteous, like you're the victim. I am the victim. No, you're the monster. You took Derek's one mistake and turned it into a crusade. His one mistake was systematic fraud. He was trying to help you. By stealing from me. She laughed, high-pitched, unstable. You just keep saying that, like it makes you right. It does make me right. No, it makes you vindictive. Jessica, put the gun down. This isn't going to fix anything. I know, she smiled. But it'll make me feel better. Will it? You think shooting me will bring Derek back? Will save your marriage? No, but you'll be gone, and that's enough. I heard footsteps in the hallway. Multiple people, security, police. Jessica heard them too. Her finger tightened on the trigger. Don't, I said. Why not? Because Derek's already going to prison. You want him to know his wife committed murder too? That stopped her, for just a second. He'll know you died, and he'll know I did it, and he'll know it's because you destroyed us. I didn't destroy you. You destroyed yourselves. Shut up! The door burst open. Drop the weapon! Police, 3 of them, guns drawn. Jessica turned toward them. Time slowed. I saw her finger move, saw the police react, heard the shots. Jessica fell. My reports, my files, everything I'd organized so carefully, now covered in red. Paramedics rushed in, worked on her. But I could see it in their faces. She was gone. Detective Walsh appeared beside me. Mr. Patterson, are you hurt? I looked down at myself. No injuries. I'm fine. We need to get you out of here. She guided me to the hallway. I looked back once. Saw Jessica's body on my office floor. Saw the gun beside her hand. Gerald was in the hallway, pale, shaking. Tom, Jesus Christ. I'm okay. She had a gun. She was going to... I know. If police hadn't arrived. I know. They took me to a conference room. Questioned me for 2 hours. What happened, what she said, what I said, everything. I answered mechanically, like reading from a script. At 4 p.m., they let me go home. Detective Walsh walked me to my car. Mr. Patterson, Jessica Patterson died at 12:47 p.m. I know. This is self-defense. You won't be charged with anything. I didn't shoot her. You understand what I mean. You're clear legally. Okay. But, Tom, you need to talk to someone, a professional. Because this, she gestured vaguely at everything, this is trauma, real trauma, and it's going to catch up with you. I feel fine. That's what concerns me. I drove home. My house was dark, empty. I walked inside and stood in the living room. Derek was in jail. Rachel would be soon. My family was gone, and I felt nothing. Just that same empty space. My phone buzzed. News alert. Identified as Jessica Patterson, 28. Comments were already flooding in. People I didn't know, offering sympathy, asking questions, building narratives. Someone posted, "The husband is Derek Patterson. He's facing fraud charges. She must have snapped." Someone else, "Tragic. Mental health is so important." Another, "His father pressed charges. Family should support each other." I turned off my phone, sat in the dark, thought about Amy, about what she'd say if she could see this, her son in jail, her husband sitting alone in the dark, feeling nothing. She'd probably tell me I'd gone too far. That family was worth fighting for. That forgiveness was possible. But Amy was wrong. Some things can't be forgiven. Some people don't deserve second chances. And some families are just broken beyond repair. At 9 p.m., I made dinner. Pasta again, ate it standing at the counter, washed the dishes, put everything away. Normal routine, like nothing had happened, like a woman hadn't died in my office 5 hours ago. At 11 p.m., I went to bed, stared at the ceiling, thought about nothing, felt nothing, and somewhere in the vast emptiness of my life, realized that maybe Gerald and Detective Walsh were right. Maybe something was broken in me. Maybe I'd won the battle but lost something essential in the process. But I still couldn't make myself care, so I closed my eyes and slept.